So what's the deal with President Trump these days? He's making deals with Democrats. He said he was going to build a wall, and now he's pushing the Dreamer Act. And Hillary Clinton is doing a book tour when he said he was going to lock her up. So is he giving it to the people who got him in office? Is he betraying them? What's up with that? We'll take a look at that. There's also an amazing new movement among millennials, and not just millennials. It may change the way you think about the culture entirely, and we'll talk about all that. Plus the mailbag, so we'll solve all your problems. But first, the federal government, under the leadership of Donald Trump, has so far been doing a terrific job handling the natural disasters that have struck the South. Here's a brief montage of newscasters praising the president for his excellent leadership. Okay, that was a little more brief than I was expecting, but there's more good news. The economy is starting to really boom, with the stock market skyrocketing, employment and income on the rise, poverty levels finally falling. So here's a montage of commentators discussing how the White House is making America great again. Well, they say in journalism that good news is no news, so maybe the press just wants to focus on where things have gone wrong. So for instance, now that it's become pretty clear President Trump had absolutely nothing to do with the Russians, who had absolutely no effect on the outcome of the election, journalists are engaged in a period of deep soul searching, trying to figure out how they could have wasted so much of America's time over a story that really wasn't very important at all. Here's a sample of some of the press's self-criticism. All right, I'm joking. The American mainstream media is still the same corrupt, biased, hate-filled, corrupt, leftist, dishonest, corrupt, immoral, corrupt, biased, corrupt organ of misinformation it's been for the last 20 years or so. According to our good friends at the Media Research Center, the network's evening news spent the summer trashing the president with coverage that was 91% negative. This is a grand total of 3% worse than the 89% negative coverage the networks were giving Trump before the summer. Network executives are launching a full investigation into what took them so long to squeeze out that extra 3% of hate and vitriol. Journalists justify their negative, biased, leftist, corrupt, dishonest, hate-filled, corrupt, biased coverage by pointing out the ways in which President Trump deserves their attacks. As Hillary Clinton spokesman and ABC newsman George Stephanopoulos says, quote, Trump has done some truly terrible things, like winning the election when we wanted him to lose, and being a Republican when we're all Democrats. Also, he doesn't panic and knuckle under when we call him racist, which makes him an absolutely horrible person, unquote. CNN's Jim Acosta added, quote, look at me, I'm Jim Acosta. I can stand on my head and shout ignorant non sequiturs at the same time. Look at me, I'm Jim Acosta. Look at me. Under the relentless media attacks, President Trump's approval ratings have now risen to around 45%, whereas the media's approval rating has now sunk from shut up, you snake-hearted dirtbags, to kiss my butt, you lying pieces of garbage. The president looks forward to pushing his negative coverage up to 100% to serve his goal of achieving re-election by winning every single state in the country. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo, birds are winging.
I'm not hearing this. Oh.
Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shape, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray, it makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray, oh, hooray, hurrah.
All right, it's mailbag day, which means, you know, look at your life. It's not going to be that way. When this show is over, your life will have changed, possibly for the better. We'll answer questions. We can take questions live too, can we?
Yeah.
These are the hard questions, Austin. Come on, snap it up. Yeah, we can take questions live too, but we already have some really interesting questions. We'll talk about those. You know, we're doing a new thing called The Conversation. This is the start of a new series. We're going to start it next Tuesday, with Ben. It's kind of like a fireside chat where he will take your questions. It's at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. You can see it on the website or on Facebook.
Anybody can listen, anybody can tune in, but if you want to actually ask questions, you got to be a subscriber. It costs lousy $10 a month. I mean, what were you doing with that $10 anyway? And if you subscribe for a year at $100, all through Hillary Clinton's book tour, you can have the Leftist Tears tumbler. You know, we actually got a copy now. We have a copy. We're not giving this away, but we had a copy of Hillary Clinton's book, What Happened? And it occurs to me that it actually gives the ending away. It says, what happened? Hillary Rodham Clinton. So you get the answer. You don't even have to buy the book. It's right there on the cover. All right. So I woke up this morning and my wife said to me, are you ever going to do one of those stamps.com ads again? And I said, yeah, absolutely. We love stamps.com. And she said, well, you might want to just change it up a little bit. Instead of saying you don't have to go to the post office and wait online, you might say that you're not going to send me to go to the post office and wait online. So I don't know what's up with that. I don't know what she's complaining about, but it is true. You know, it is utterly ridiculous in this day and age that you have to stop what you're doing at the speed you can do things at now. Drive to the post office, hope they're open, stand online, waiting around, and then get your services, get back in your car, get back. You don't have to do any of that with Stamps.com because it brings all the services of the U.S. Postal Service right to your fingertips. You buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter, any package, any class of mail using your own computer and printer, which, by the way, is kind of cool. Stamps.com makes it easy. They'll send you a digital scale so you can automatically calculate the exact postage, and it will even help you decide the best class of mail based on your needs. So if you don't want my wife to get sent to the post office all the time and have to wait online, you can enjoy Stamps.com service with a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus postage and a digital scale without long-term commitments. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Klavan.
What's standing on line?
That's Klavan. Any question you ask me, I'm going to spell Klavan. Klavan. Stamps.com. Enter Klavan. Stamps.com. I will never have to send my wife to the post office again. All right, so let's take a look at this. You know, it really is interesting. President Trump's ratings are actually going up, and I predict they're going to continue to go up unless there's some terrible, terrible disaster. Politico has a big article out now that the Democrats have thrown everything at this guy, everything. I mean, Russia, his base sticks with him, and once he starts to do well, and certainly once the economy takes off, you know, people who weren't with him before will also be with him. And so everything they've done, it just hasn't worked. So last night, President Trump had a dinner with 3 Democrats and I think 4 Republican senators to talk about pushing his tax reform deal. He knows he's going to need some Democrats on there if Mitch McConnell's not going to get rid of this ridiculous filibuster rule. He knows he's going to need maybe 60 votes. Maybe they can do it through reconciliation and get it through. That's also possible. But this comes on the heels of his making this deal with, as we now call them, Chuck and Nancy. suddenly from crying Chuck and crazy Nancy Pelosi, they're Chuck and Nancy, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. He made this deal to extend the debt ceiling only 3 months when the Republicans, and certainly the conservatives, were touting their 18-month plan. They wanted to keep it going. Now, Mitch McConnell, by the way, I just should add this in there, that Mitch McConnell says that it's not really 3 months. It'll be spring before they have to deal with the debt ceiling because they're allowed to move money around, all these kind of complex Senate rules. But also, Donald Trump is now pushing passage of the DREAM Act. I mean, Bush couldn't do it. Obama couldn't do it. He's not only saying wants passage of the DREAM Act, he's tweeting to Dreamers, don't worry, even though we've rescinded the executive order against Dreamers, we're not going to throw you out of the country, and we're not going to take any action while Congress is dealing with this. So we're not going to, we're not going to come after you. So, I mean, this comes after, let's face it, we remember all those meetings, those rallies that he held, where they were screaming, build the wall, still happening when he does rallies, not just in the campaign. They're still shouting, build the wall. And Trump is saying that they're not going to attach any DACA legislation, any DREAM Act legislation, doesn't have to be attached to wall funding. So he's basically giving that game away too. So the question is 2 questions. Is he stabbing his supporters in the back, and do we care? I mean, those are the 2 questions, because I should say, I'm a conservative. I'm not a Trumpster. Trump listen, Trump is a far, far, far better deal than Hillary Clinton ever would have been. And anybody who says, oh, you know, like, well, if we had had Hillary Clinton and we had a Republican Congress, look, the Republican Congress has never done anything to help anybody. Well, they held up Obama, but still, he did all those, he had got all those judge appointments, all those regulations that he put in there. And now Trump is really putting some really good judges, not just in the Supreme Court, but right down the line. These are things that can never be taken back, you know, and I mean, regulations can be rolled back, but they almost never are, and they are under the Trump administration. So he's doing a lot of good things from a conservative point of view. But here is The Guardian, right? This is this left-wing British publication, and they're selling this narrative. The mainstream establishment Republican leadership made a cynical calculation to tolerate Donald Trump's dangerous faults, believing they could use him to rubber stamp their long-sought conservative legislative agenda. Now, every word in that sentence is untrue. That just does not describe what happened. They made a bargain with a con man, and now he has betrayed them. His deal last week with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi on debt limits and disaster spending is a huge political betrayal, but make no mistake, for Trump, it's good politics. Americans are fed up with gridlock and dysfunction in the Washington, D.C. swamp, and they blame Republicans as much as Democrats. Furthermore, the legislation, which might pass by making deals with Democrats, polls well across the political spectrum. Okay, so let's start with the whole immigration thing. Because from my perspective, immigration was never the big problem people thought it was. What was the problem was the lawlessness. It's a problem to have your government say we're not going to enforce the law because we're not. I mean, that is an arrogant, tyrannical government. They should have to pass laws, not through executive orders, get them through Congress, and then they should have to enforce them. And every time Obama said, I'm not going to enforce the Defensive Marriage Act, I thought, like, well, what's the difference then between him and a king? I mean, we elect these guys, they make legislation. We may not like the legislation, so we have to change it. But how if the president just says, oh, yeah, I'm going to use prosecutorial judgment, and we're not going to prosecute those laws, then the laws don't exist. So he's just swiping the laws away, just like a king. And I think that is the thing that really bothered me about immigration. It wasn't rapists and murderer Mexicans coming in. I mean, we've handled plenty of immigration before, but you got to do it legally. You got to have a border. You got to check people through. You got to take the people you want and tell the people who you don't want that they can't come in. So let's take a look at this dinner that went on last night. The three Democrats who were there all come from states that Trump won big. Right. And they're all kind of conservative. So you have Heidi Heitkamp, you have Joe Donnelly from Indiana, and Joe Manchin is the big one from West Virginia. And Manchin he's been a kind of moderate guy. You know, he supports gun rights. He's been against abortion. He's done a lot of things to work across the aisle. So he came out after the meeting, after this dinner, and he said, there was a bipartisan feeling there. This is cut number 2.
It was a very in-depth conversation. Started out with infrastructure, Joe. Talked a lot about infrastructure. Gary went into detail and the president, basically back and forth of what we could do, the exciting things that can happen, how we can work together, public-private, but also public-private means not just turning things over to the private sector and then they're going to own it and run it, but basically building it quicker and faster, getting through the minutia of all the time constraints of 8 to 10 years to build something when we should be able to do it and permit it in 2 years. So we got into that, and then we got right into the depth of tax reform. And the president was adamant from the get-go. This is not a tax cut for the rich. And I repeat that. This will not be a tax cut for me or any rich people. That kind of started out the conversation. It went pretty good from there.
So he comes out of there happy. These are 3 guys who have not joined the rest of the Democrats in the resistance. So they did vote, for instance, for Gorsuch for the Supreme Court, to approve Gorsuch for the Supreme Court. And, the thing about infrastructure is there's going to be an infrastructure bill. Democrats love this, but Democrats want it to be all government spending, so they control it. They control hiring, gives us tremendous power over who gets hired, who gets contracts, gives them tremendous power to take graft, which Democrats love. And, what Trump is hoping to do is kind of work out some sort of private-public thing, which would be a little bit more conservative. It would be a moderate program. And, of course, the tax thing, they've got to cut corporate taxes. They have not cut. Let's hear a little bit more about Manchin on this. He talks about this at cut number 3, what they're talking about for tax reform.
Tax reform or tax cuts, whatever you want to do, has to be done to where it stimulates the economy, grows the economy on a global basis. It's competitive. We didn't create the market, global market, but we've got to compete in it. Next of all, we can't continue to add to $20 trillion. So you have to be very sensitive. No more debt. You can't add on debt. We've got to see a pathway forward to start bringing this debt down and get ourselves fiscally responsible. And I think that's what that conversation was last night. And what I heard, willing to explore all avenues of this, understanding that Democrats, responsible, moderate, some of us conservative Democrats, who are looking for fiscal responsibility. You know, I've always said this: I'm fiscally responsible and socially compassionate.
So here's an example where Trump is actually not betraying his base at all. The base knew he was going to do this. This is what he talked about. Some of us conservatives may be a little nervous about all the infrastructure spending. We may be nervous that he's going to lose those corporate tax cuts, because those are the big ones. It really is not the middle class tax cuts. It's the corporate tax cuts. And the reason for that is money gets taxed when it moves. Money gets taxed when you spend something, when I spend something, when an employer gives it to you. When money is in motion, it gets taxed. So you can cut corporate taxes, expand business, expand employment, expand production and all these things, and actually when you cut the rate, you actually make more money because the money is moving a lot faster. Hey, I have to pause there for just a moment and talk about the fact that I just look fabulous. And I know it's distracting, so I want to get to it. I know you're sitting here saying, well, taxes are interesting, but why do you look so good? And the reason is Beachbody On Demand, which is an online fitness streaming service that gives you unlimited access to a wide variety of highly effective world-class workouts personalized to meet your needs. Plus, it's got extensive nutritional content, all proven to help people achieve their health and fitness goals, with step-by-step program guides, workout calendars, comprehensive nutrition plans, an innovative portion control focused cooking show, and the motivation and support of a growing community. Beachbody On Demand is the total package, and you can take it on your phone. You can get it anywhere. When you travel, you don't have to stop your workouts, and you can target it if you just want to lose weight, to go to a special event, to go to your reunion, so they don't say, like, look at that guy, he really fell apart, didn't he? It's got really familiar brands. What do they call it? It's called PO, I think. PIO. 21-day fix, P90X, which I've done, Insanity, which I've done, in just incredibly tough stuff. Over 600 different over 600 different workouts and over 100 recipe videos. It will keep you in shape and help you meet your goals. It's a brand new service, but it already has over 1 million members, and you can claim a free trial membership. You can. If you just text Andrew on your cell phone to 303030, you get full access to this entire platform for free. So try it out. It really is nice if you have a goal, if you're trying to get in shape for something, or if you just want to live a better, healthier life, or if you want to look as incredibly good as I do. These are the kinds of things that you can do. Beachbody On Demand. All right, so I just have to stop about the Manchin thing, because this is really funny. He's on... What was he on? I think it was CBS. CBS, because it was Charlie Rose. And Manchin comes in, and he's been at dinner with the president in this bipartisan dinner. So it's news. It's a real story. They start to run out of time. Here is the question they ask Manchin. This is the question they have got to know about this dinner. Cut number 4.
Senator, before you go, we got to go. But before you go, what was the menu? Chicken, beef, fish? What was it?
It was a medallion. It was a beef medallion, and it was well done.
Did you have, Senator? I hate to pry. I really do. I hate to pry. But did you have 1 scoop or 2 scoops of ice cream?
No. We had. Let me tell you, the ice cream was so perfectly prepared. The ice cream came beside the dessert, Gail, and it looked like an egg. And I said, I wonder why I'm getting an egg with my dessert. And I cut into it, and it was a beautifully sculptured ice cream.
Okay, but the president said to love desserts. Did he eat more desserts than you?
No, he did not. He did not.
It's unbelievable. They hate this guy so much. No matter what happens in this country, if he blows North Korea off the face of the earth, no matter what he does, if the economy comes roaring back, they hate him personally, and it's not working. It is not keeping it's not keeping his poll numbers down. Trump has really done everything that has kept his poll numbers down has been generated by Trump himself, with kooky tweets and not getting the thing, and by the Congress not giving him the deals he wants. But look, this thing with the immigration thing, it doesn't bother me that much. He is enforcing immigration. Illegal immigration is way down. I don't think a wall is going to make any difference. But when a guy gets up at every rally and says we're going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it, he ought to build a wall, and the people who supported him, ought to hold him responsible for that. But do I care? No. As a conservative, I just want the rule of law enforced. That is happening. The ICE agents are allowed to work again. The ICE agents love Trump because he set them free to do their jobs. So the answer to the two questions, yeah, I think so far he has not done what he told his supporters he's going to do. Do I care? No. And one of the funny things about me, of course, is because I was not a big Trump believer. I always knew he was not going to do a lot of the things he said. I mean, here he is. Let's go back and just remember. Remember all those chants of lock him up. Just like a month ago, weeks ago, he was held a rally and they were shouting, lock Hillary Clinton up, lock Hillary Clinton up. Well, now Hillary Clinton is roaming around free. She's going out there, selling her book. And let's just go back for a minute to one of the debates where Trump said he was going to have a special prosecutor appointed to investigate the fact that she destroyed emails that were under subpoena.
For you to say that there was nothing wrong with you deleting 39,000 emails, again, you should be ashamed of yourself, what you did. And this is after getting a subpoena from the United States Congress.
We have to move on. Secretary Clinton, you can respond, and then we got to move on.
We want to give the audience a chance here.
In jail, let alone after getting a subpoena from the United States
Secretary
Congress.
Clinton, you can respond.
So recently, Jeff Sessions said he's not going to prosecute Lois Lerner, who was who was right in the thick of that IRS scandal, where the IRS was targeting, and it probably is still targeting, conservative groups and not giving them breaks so that they could use, tax breaks to spread their ideas during the election year. It was very effective. It really kind of undermined the Tea Party as they were gaining steam. And Obama was good at that. Obama was a master politician. He was a Chicago Paul. He knew how to break the backs of his enemies. He really did. And he knew, one of the things that Obama knew is he knew how it can be important not to pass a law, to lose at passing a law, but to win on making it look like the other side was to blame and the other side looks mean, like he did with the DREAM Act. So anyway, now Jeff Sessions says he's not going to prosecute Lois Lerner, and that's a tough one. I mean, I like Jeff Sessions. I suspect if he can't prosecute her, it's because he just can't get the case he wants together, and he doesn't want to spend public money chasing her around if he's not going to catch her. But it really is interesting. Plus, they're making charges. You saw Steve Bannon the other day said that firing James Comey was one of the biggest political mistakes ever. So they asked Sarah Huckabee Sanders about this at the press conference, and she says, yeah, this guy has really broken the law. Comey has broken the law. So she's answering the questions, was it a mistake to fire him? This is cut 6.
The president is proud of the decision that he made. The president was 100% right in firing James Comey. He knew at the time that it could be bad for him politically, but he also knew and felt he had an obligation to do what was right and do what was right for the American people and certainly the men and women at the FBI. I think there's no secret. Comey, by his own self-admission, leaked privileged government information. Weeks before President Trump fired him, Comey testified that an FBI agent engaged in the same practice, they'd face serious repercussions. I think he set his own stage for himself on that front. His actions were improper and likely could have been illegal. Comey leaked memos to the New York Times, your own outlet. He politicized an investigation by signaling he would exonerate Hillary Clinton before he ever interviewed her or other key witnesses. He's very happy with the decision he made, and I think he's been fully vindicated by a lot of those new things and knowing that it was the right one.
So then the next question a reporter asks her, or a couple of questions over, is, are you going to put him away if he broke the law? And she says that is not the president's job. It's not the president's job to appoint a special counsel. It's not the president's job to decide whether to indict and whether to prosecute. So now that he's dealing with the reality of it, it's a lot different. It's a lot different to ask Jeff Sessions to go after Hillary Clinton, to ask him to go after James Comey. All those chants of lock him up. And it's entirely possible. And this is something, because conservatives are not only laughing at his supporters, they're laughing at conservatives who said, well, we'll see what we can get out of this guy. But really, that's silly, because it's very possible that his supporters understood that he was carrying them along on emotion, but they still hoped he would do a better job than anybody else who was going to go on there and be more responsible to them. And I think on that score, he is. even though he hasn't fulfilled his promises. It's a really weird situation because Trump is a very emotional figure and people are attached to him emotionally. And those of us who care about policy are kind of confused. Well, he said he would do this, but he's not doing that. But I don't think that's what people are following him for. I think they're following him for an attitude. And I think he's delivered that attitude in spades. You know, I have to have my picture taken a lot. And this, for somebody like me, look, I'm a writer. I've been a writer all my life. I became a writer because I like to hide in a room by myself, thinking thoughts and writing them down. So it has always been a shock to me to find myself out and people asking to take pictures with me. And for a long time, I would not smile. You can go back and look at pictures. I wouldn't smile because my teeth were dark, and I had no idea what it was. Finally, asked the lady who cleans my teeth, how can I keep them clean? She says, get an electric toothbrush. So I got this electric toothbrush. I had 3 guys carry it inside because they're so big, okay? But now there is Quip, which is an electric toothbrush that is just beautifully designed. It's thin, it's small, it works on batteries. Instead of having to be plugged in, you can take it with you wherever you go. It's as if, like, Steve Jobs had designed this electric toothbrush. You can get it, it's inexpensive. You can get it and also get a 3-month plan where they replace just a minute here. See, now I have good teeth, but I can't talk. Where they will replace the brush heads, which is very important. 2, Quip is backed by leading dentists. It was named as one of Time Magazine's best inventions of 2016. They won a 2016 GQ Grooming Award and made it onto Oprah's 2017 New Year's O-list. Quip starts at just $25, which is a really good price, and it really does make a difference when you use an electric toothbrush. Right now, go to getquip.com, getquip.com/Klavan to get. Yes. I'm glad you asked me that question. It's Klavan, getquip.com. and you /Klavan, and you'll get your first refill pack free with a Quip electric toothbrush. Your first refill pack free at getquip.com/Klavan, getquip.com/Klavan. You know, we're going to have the mailbag coming up in just a minute, but we got to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube. If you want to listen to the rest of the show, you can come to thedailywire.com. If you want to just watch the whole show and be part of the mailbag, have your questions about anything you want answered, you got to subscribe. It's a lousy $10 a month. For $100, you get a year subscription, and you can drink Hillary's tears in this beautiful tumbler, Leftist Tears tumbler. Come on over.